Hello YouTube, this is Darkon6383. I'm back with another Transformers review. Today we're going to take a look at the Transformers Legend LG46 Cup with Target Master Recoil. Now this is something that I waited quite a long time in order to get a hold of, since the Hasbro release was definitely not up to my liking for the particular character for two major reasons. One, the color of the actual product was more towards the original G1 American release of the character, and also he did not have his Target Master. When Takara actually announced they were going to release their version of Cup, I was definitely happy to pre-order this particular figure in order to secure it, since it's a very nice figure overall. I got this at AmiAmi, and I'm actually going to say that first, since I'm just really glad that I got it for the price that I got it for. Anyways, we're going to take a look at the box. The box is very similar to what we've seen with Blur, but it's a little bit different since obviously he is a Target Master. It has a picture of Cup with this Target Master there. It shows that the Headmaster was there on the box, and this is where obviously his Target Master was. On the back, it's just the typical kind of style for Transformers that we've seen. It shows that it transforms within two modes, etc. And shows the same photo on the side with the recoil. Shows the toy this time, and pretty much the usual stuff. So now we're going to take that to the side. The main accessory the figure includes is obviously this Headmaster, the Target Master Recoil, and this instruction booklet, which actually has this really cool mini-comic inside. And this is something that Takara's been doing with their products, and I really enjoy this, even if I can't exactly read it, but it's still nice that it's included. Before anything else, here is Cup next to the last update of the character we got in the Generations line, and that is this one. Even though it's a little bit on the shorter side, since this one's actually, no, I take it back, this is actually a little bit taller looking on top, but it's about shorter one here. This really wasn't a full-on update to the character per se, since it's had a lot of IDW kind of style going for it. I think this is definitely a more faithful representation of the character. Now we're going to go on to articulation points. Unlike other Titan Master releases, the head doesn't seem to have much articulation due to the boxy nature of the design. He can still swivel 360, but he doesn't have that much movement around, unfortunately. He has ball joints in the shoulders, which is one of the major differences here. Since the American release was more of a boxy style, this is definitely more of a standard kind of shoulder joint. He does have swivels at the biceps. Double joints at the elbows, mainly due to transformation, but it does work for articulation there. Same thing with the wrists. He does have some minor wrist articulation, but that's mainly due to transformation. He actually has a full 360 waist joint, which actually does come in play in the transformation. Ball joints in the hips. Single joint at the knee. Swivels at the thighs. And feet can pivot again due to transformation, but you're not going to get anything else. Before we go on to his transformation, we're actually going to take a look at Recoil, which is a very nice representation of the Target Master. To transform him, all you're going to do is move the legs. And we're actually going to do this early. Turn the ball joints around so that the legs face this direction. Unpeg the back part there. And to finish off the transformation, we're actually going to swivel this entire body around. And now we have Recoil in his robot mode. Now one thing to note is that the actual Target Master is very close to what we've seen with Nightstick in the Universe Cyclonus mold, but it does have some major differences. He does have some articulation in the head, but it's kind of a cheated one, since the only way to articulate the head is swivel the joint for transformation. So it kind of works as articulation, but not quite, since it's mostly a transformation joint. He does have ball joints at the shoulders, but no other points of articulation in the arms. He has ball joints. I take that back. He actually only has swivels at the hips and ball joints at the knees. So you're not going to get a whole lot of articulation on this little guy, but it does work overall. We're actually going to transform back into his Target Master mode, which is very simple. You just got to swivel this again. And from there, these will actually peg on up here, since there is little empty holes where you can actually peg in these pieces. For what I could tell, they don't seem to peg in very well on mine. I'm not sure if exactly they're supposed to have a hard connection there, but it does kind of hold there by friction. Not sure if that's a defective part of mine, but it does work, at least. So we're actually going to take this off to the side, and now move on to his transformation. Cup in his vehicle mode. This is definitely a lot better than what we've seen with the previous generation's update, which became more of a modern pickup truck. So now we actually got a Cup that actually transforms into his Cybertronian kind of pickup truck mode. Now obviously the one in the show didn't have wheels, and because of this you can actually roll this across the table, but it does work overall, and I think it looks accurate enough. We actually could place recoil to the back there, so that's really nice. And we're going to transform Cup's Titan Master and take a look at it. So I think that looks pretty cool. You can actually place Titan Masters on the back here, so you can have them fully arming recoil there. So that's really cool. And it does have an opening canopy and an area where you can actually place a Titan Master. This unfortunately is a little bit of a chore to actually attach in, since the legs don't like to sit in very well into the grooves there. Other Titan Master releases actually have little pegs that you can actually peg there, and while they're definitely not the most secure way of actually attaching it, it does sometimes have a little bit easier actually attaching it to begin with. For some reason, this system of mine here doesn't really work very well, so it pops up every 10 seconds just trying to place him inside. So hopefully he will actually stay in better for this review. In order to make sure it doesn't pop out, at least for mine, I do need to slowly place it back together. And from there, it will finally attach without him flying all over the place. So there we go. Now we got him fully inside the vehicle mode, so that's really nice. And he could still roll normally. So we're actually going to bring the rest of the updated movie cast and see how they look next to each other. And with this, now we have pretty much almost the entire cast rounded up, sans maybe some of the Junkion, which I doubt Hasbro will ever really release at this point. And obviously Rodimus Prime, since he'll actually be introduced in the Power of the Primes trilogy next year. So, this is actually a pretty good setup, and I think Hasbro did a fantastic job over the years to actually release all the characters. Although it took a very long time to release, and you pretty much do need to get the Takara version of the Cup in order to get the most accurate version, along with the Blur. But, at least between the two companies, they were able to kind of mishmatch a pretty good team together, and I think they did a pretty good job overall. If you happen to find this at HLJ, AmiAmi, or any of your favorite online retailer stores, such as BBTS, TF Source, or any of the other online retailers, I definitely recommend getting the Takara version of the release instead of the Hasbro release of Cup, since it's just so much better in the end. Anyways, please comment, subscribe, and check out Hero Club and Hirotaku. Also check out Twitter, Darkon633, and don't forget to check down the other channels down below. Please check the little bell at the bottom of the screen in order to see my content go up as soon as possible. I'm back with more Transformers reviews, but for now, I'll be seeing you later, YouTube. Bye.